Welcome to the Midlife Leap, a lifestyle talk show for women in midlife. I'm your host, Sunita Johnson, and I am excited to share tips and interviews on topics ranging from business, career, current news, fashion, shopping, health, travel, and so much more. And also because I'm known as the Midlife Leap Coach, from time to time, I'll share some of my signature Midlife Leap coaching tips. So come on, ladies, let's reignite and reimagine our midlife leap journey together. Oh, happy times, ladies. On Tuesday, March 15th, Senate approved a bill to make daylight savings time permanent across the United States starting next year. Twice a year, like clockwork, pun intended, I complain about this outdated tradition, daylight savings time, which was first adopted as a wartime measure in 1942. Daylight savings time is defined as a period between spring and fall when clocks in most part of the country are set 1 hour ahead of standard time. Just recently, we changed our clocks, and honestly, I believe it was Sunday. It blends all together, but we did have to change our clocks, and I still have clocks that I need to change, and it's been almost a week now, and I'm talking about the stove clock, the microwave clock, the clocks I have in the bathroom. You know, the clocks that won't change automatically. It's pretty irritating. But anyway, standard time lasts for roughly 4 months in most part of the country. Now, the bipartisan bill, which is named the Sunshine Protection Act, still needs approval from the House and the signature of President Joe Biden to become law. Fingers and toes crossed. Nearly a dozen states across the United States already have standardized daylight savings time. Now, if the bill is passed, all 50 states will no longer need to change their clocks. Now, just imagine 365 days a year with more daylight hours to spend outside after work, to spend outside running your errands, or to spend outside just because the freaking sun is still out, because it's not dark at 5 p.m. I get so tired of yawning at 6 p.m. and I'm thinking it's like 9 or 10 p.m. or something like that, and I look at the clock and realize it's 6. Then I yawn at 7:30 or whatever, and I'm thinking it's midnight and it's still 7:30. I'm over it, so please pass this bill. It will be a dream come true. And I can't stop smiling at the thought. So how do you feel, ladies, about the possibility of permanent daylight savings time? Leave a comment below.
Dr. Isabel Sharkar is co-founder of the Indigo Integrative Health Clinic in Washington, D.C., a thriving clinic that has been serving the local community in health restoration and body optimization for over a decade. Indigo Health Clinic specializes in endocrine and gastrointestinal disorders, Lyme disease, detoxification, heavy metal and mold toxicity, and more. She is known as a beauty, detox, and burnout prevention expert and has written for magazines like Harper's Bazaar, Huffington Post, Vogue, and many more. She has been featured in Modern Luxury, NBC News, The Exhausted docuseries, and numerous podcasts. Dr. Isabel guides female entrepreneurs into full self-expression through healing and mind-body-soul integration and supporting reconnection to their personal power and source. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So tell me, why is detoxification so important to our health and well-being?
That is such a loaded question. Detoxification is vital for our well-being. It's vital for our health. So the way that I look at dis-ease, it's when the body is not at ease. And so we're looking at a mind, body, soul connection. And so when it comes to detoxification and living a clean life, it's also looking at the thoughts that we have. It's also the communication that we have within ourselves. And now more than ever, we are living in an environment that is so polluted and very toxic. And so we have to make sure that we're giving our channels of elimination the optimal chance of being able to detoxify all the toxins that are coming in. And so we want to minimize toxins coming in and maximize toxins going out so that we can make sure that our bodies are constantly functioning optimally.
With all the chemicals that we have in our environment, our foods, our furnitures, clothing, you name it, how important is it more important today than it was in the past?
100%, 100%. Like, even if you're looking at the soil content that we had 40, 50 years ago, like now, if you're going to consume broccoli, that's going to have the exact same content of nutrition that it did 40 years ago, you probably need barrels of it. And so it's the same thing, like our nutrients are being depleted. The food that we usually consume to detoxify is not as nutrient dense as it used to be. We have more pollution happening environmentally now than we've ever had in the past. And we're constantly being bombarded. I think, the average American, when they're faced with getting ready to wake up and go to work, they're faced with like around 200 to 300 chemicals. And that's just, from the things that we consume and our personal care products.
It's scary that you mentioned broccoli. That's one of my favorite vegetables.
I love broccoli too.
So what is it that you do specifically? Is it the drip vitamins? I mean, what is it that you do?
Sure. So we have an integrative medical practice that is naturopathic medicine, functional medicine based in Washington, D.C. and Georgetown, called Indigo Integrative Health Clinic. And so usually what we do is we deal with people that have gastrointestinal disorders such as like IBS or SIBO, or there's a parasitic or a pathogenic burden, or there's leaky gut, or they have food sensitivities. We deal with endocrine disorders, for example, like Hashimoto's and thyroid disorders, Graves' disease, hypo and hyperthyroidism, just to name a few, hormonal imbalances. And then we've got the autoimmune conditions that include Lyme disease, or we do a lot of cancer prevention. So we see a broad spectrum of conditions. But the thing that we've noticed in medicine is, especially with naturopathic medicine, is that when you give the body the tools that it needs, it has an innate ability to heal itself. And so when you clean up shop and you're able to do, the detoxification, and you're able to stop the toxic burden from going in, then you're also able to restore the gut function and rebalance the hormones. And we deal with a lot of lifestyle factors as well, such as, stress would be the main one, in addition to, the nutrition and also mindset. And then we have also a portion of our clinic is IV therapy based. So we do a lot of intravenous therapies, such as NAD therapy, which is known as the superhuman molecule, which is amazing for the mitochondria, regenerating the cellular structure and detoxifying, as well as other IV therapies that we do, including chelation.
Wow. And I actually found you just because I wanted someone who provides chelation, because I know very few doctors in America provide that. And I'm only familiar because when I had my social media agency years ago, one of my clients in Dallas provided that service, and actually brought out the book that he gave me because I was really amazed that, and I remember speaking to some of the patients. One guy was in his 70s, 80s, and he avoided getting a stent for his heart just from chelation, and most people don't know anything about it.
Yeah, chelation is really good for, conditions like atherosclerosis, where you're having like the hardening and the narrowing and stiffening of the arteries, which is due to plaque, which also can cause heart attacks. So there's a lot of benefits in chelation, and calcium EDTA, detoxifying also heavy metal toxicity. So there's a lot of benefits with having chelation therapy, definitely.
So why is it? Because we are more educated today, but it seems like we have all these natural remedies, and it's still sort of secretive or hidden, or maybe people just don't want to believe into it until it's almost too late.
Yeah. I mean, you want to know my honest opinion of like why we don't know what we're supposed to know as far as like all the therapies that are available to us. I mean, when I went to naturopathic medical school and we lifted the veil, we were able to actually see, like we were taught, follow the money.
Mm.
And that's all I need to say about that, right? So it's like if we look at the industry, when we, turn on the television, what do we see? What kind of commercials are we watching? Mm-hmm. And so natural remedies that are, you can't patent earth. And so if you can't patent earth, then you're not going to have these like multi-million-dollar scientific articles and journals and research that's being able to be performed on the benefits of nature. So it's really important to be able to look past that and figure out, okay, we were taught in naturopathic medical school that for every dis-ease that's happening, there's a natural cure for it. But we're not taught that. Like, that's not, the average American doesn't know that. We don't know the healing powers of nature. We don't even know the healing powers of our bodies because we've been taught that there's a magic pill to consume for every ailment.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because every pill that we take also often causes another ailment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because we're messing with nature. And we're also depriving the body of like the fundamental tools that it actually needs to heal itself. Like the 6 doctors, for example, that everybody needs to be very, very close to would be being in nature, water, drinking natural spring water, not filtered water from your tap that's chlorinated or, that has fluoride. But you've got water, you've got sun, getting vitamin D, being in nature, getting, consuming the negative ions that we need in order for us to combat all of the electronics that we're faced with every single day. And then also eating from earth and having a relationship with our food and growing in nature. So there's fundamentals that we need. And when we don't have these fundamentals in our daily living, then we have to pay for medicine. We have to pay for the tools to get better.
You mentioned getting vitamin D from the sun. They're even saying that now that it's more difficult for our body to absorb the vitamin D. So yeah, what can you do to help all these, all these problems we're having? Our body, our earth we're attacking it, we're destroying. I'm sure the earth can replenish itself. It'll be okay. But we are causing a lot of problems, a lot of pollution. So if I come to you, how can you help a client? How can you make it different with all these things you have to fight?
Right. So usually what we do is we start off with a 90-minute initial consultation where we get to have a thorough review of what has been happening in your life as far as your health is concerned, and also any big traumatic events that have happened as well that are causing a lot of stress. Because stored trauma is also something that we need to look at and eventually deal with. Otherwise, that's an obstacle to cure. The mindset is also an obstacle to cure. So we take inventory of where you're at, what has happened, what has been done, what worked, what didn't work, and then we make recommendations based off of the symptoms that you're having too, and what you express to figure out what's happening in your body in real time so that we're testing and we're not guessing and we're dealing with what's going on and getting a snapshot in real time. And then we make recommendations by having an individualized treatment plan to see how do we restore the body back to health. And so that's when we have that treatment plan that we follow along. And also within the year, you also get, we started this new thing last year called the Healthy Transformation Journey. And so every week you get a healthy transformation journey that you go on. It's emailed to you and you do the homework on your own. And because there's only so much time that we get during that consultation face to face, but it's really important to make sure that you're doing the lifestyle modifications on your own while you're also being seen by the practitioner so that you can have that transformation.
Okay, that comes to my point, another point I was going to make, because you are in DC. A lot of people who are probably watching are not in the area, so you can do a lot of this work virtually.
Correct. Yeah. So since the pandemic, all of our initial consultations and follow-up visits have been strictly virtual, just to minimize exposure, to protect the patients that are coming in that are, immunocompromised and they're getting treatments. So we're definitely following all the guidelines. So yeah, you can have your initial consultation virtually and your follow-up visits virtually. And then if there are required labs that we need to do, we either drop ship them to you because you get to do them at home, or we figure it out. There's so many different ways that we can figure out how to test. And then supplements are getting shipped to you. And then we recommend treatment.
So is there a point where, like, a patient, like someone's been told they need a stent? Is that a point for someone to feel as if it's too late? Maybe they've already had several stents, because I didn't know that can even occur until I spoke to that patient. He had a friend that kept getting stents, although his friend had shared with him about the chelation, but he kept getting stents. Mm-hmm. Of course, he didn't live long enough, as long as the other friend. But is there a certain point where someone can't come to you, like they're too far advanced with their sickness, their disease?
Every individual is, we go through that evaluation where we get to determine where we can help and how we can help guide treatment. There's always things that we can do when it comes to nutrition and micronutrient status and balancing hormones and things like that. For chelation, it just depends on what the history is and how severe it is. But if they are a candidate for chelation, then it's such a non-surgical, less invasive way to be able to help with the healthy and restore healthy circulation rather than getting invasive angioplasty or bypass surgery. So it's a very powerful antioxidant when you're using calcium EDTA to help enter the bloodstream, and it latches onto heavy metals and also, reduces the atherosclerosis. And so it's always worth a shot of having a proper evaluation to determine whether or not you're the appropriate candidate for this therapy.
Because if I'm remembering correctly, it's basically cleaning out the arteries.
Yeah, it cleans out, it removes excess calcium from the artery wall.
Okay.
So that your arteries are able to dilate more.
And is it still where it's cheaper than a bypass? Because I know it was 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
Yeah, I would say, I think it's cheaper in so many ways. It's less invasive. It's safer. It's, you're not having to cut open your chest. You're not you don't have to go through this rigorous surgery that also takes a toll with the anesthesia in your body. And just then you have to detoxify that. So I think overall, even if you're having 30 sessions of chelation, would still be cheaper than bypass surgery.
Yeah. And you kind of touched on something that made me get the feeling that maybe if a client patient isn't willing to work with you totally, they still want to go to their doctor, that some of the things that you do can work together with what they're doing with their doctor. Is that correct? I don't know.
Yeah. There's always, when it comes to naturopathic or functional medicine, there are always pillars that need to be in place that are the foundation of health. So to whatever degree each person feels comfortable, we can always help, whether it's dialing in the nutrition or helping with the gut health or balancing hormones. Like I said, there's always a time and a place for making sure that those pillars have a foundation in your life. And so
better, actually, you both under an operation, it's better to get healthier with you so that both can work together.
And there's definitely other IV therapies that we can do to make sure that we're boosting the immune system and we're helping with increasing nutrient status in the body before you go into surgery so that we can help with recovery. We have a lot of patients that do that before and after to speed up recovery.
Yeah, honestly, it hit me because I had not thought about that before, because I know several people have gone in for operations and surgeries, but not once have I heard anyone say, I'm changing my diet so I can get healthier, so I can heal quicker, or I'm doing this. I've never heard anyone couple those two together.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a great opportunity.
So how could a potential patient reach you?
Sure. So they can definitely visit our website, which is www.indigo, healthclinic.com. Also at Indigo Health Clinic on Instagram, or they can just give us a call. Our telephone number is 202-298-9131.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, and keep
My pleasure.
healthy.
Thank you, of course.
Thank you.